This episode, I'm going to just talk a little bit more about my history in the military, some of the places I went to, some of the things that went down, some of the events that I was a part of. Um, One of the first things I remember early on in my career was going to Fort Irwin uh, out in California. Now, this AT mission we had, we were actually going out there to support another unit that was about to deploy. And we get out there, and they already left, and Fort Irwin wasn't even tracking that we were still coming. So we get out there as a company. Our vehicles get rail hit out there, and they had to find something for us to do. So with that, we got on a really shitty detail of being a damn trash company, is what it was. Uh, we would take our trucks and trailers out to the different fobs out in the desert, pick up all their trash, and then bring it back into Fort Irwin there for it to get disposed of. And but if there was one, I guess, positive thing about my trip to Fort Irwin was I was on the rear D. Now, the way it was set up is the main body left one day, and the following day there was a handful of us that were still there. It was a couple of us lower enlisted, but a lot of, some of our senior leadership. And first thing that morning we had to do was turn back in our Humvees that we borrowed from them. Now, everybody knows in the military, and then just in general, when you borrow something from somebody, give it back to them better than at least the same as it was. And when we got these Humvees from them, they were shit. And so when we were turning them back in, they were actually cleaned up better than when we received them. And these fucktards, gave us so much shit trying to turn these back in. A 30-minute turn in lasted 3 hours in the desert, trying to do more with these fucking Humvees. It was real shitty. There was nothing you can do. They wouldn't take them back. And so we just kept having to do more and more shit to these Humvees just for them to take them back. So by the time they did take them back, like I said, it was fucking 3 hours later. We were livid, and we still had to get on the road to head to Vegas. Now, the reason we were going to Vegas is because we were commercially flying out of Vegas. And so we start making our trip towards Vegas. And as soon as we get off Fort Irwin, we went ahead and stopped at a liquor store. Because like I said, we were livid from that whole, debacle that we were going through. Some of us were already drinking on the way back to Vegas. And I remember having to make a couple extra pit stops on the way to Vegas so we could take a piss. And it even got to one point where we had to go so bad that we were using both bathrooms, to accommodate us having to go. No harm, no foul, but we did drink a lot. So that's where this story comes into play. So we show up in Vegas at our hotel. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to the Luxor Hotel, which is the pyramid looking one. And the way that our rooms were set up is there was two of us per room. And the individual that booked our rooms for us was not part of our group. So we get there, and you have to think that at this point, we're in our, we're in civilian clothes, but, kind of comfy for the trip. So we're not, dressed nicely or anything. And we have our duffel bags from our mission. So when you walk into the main area at that time, you walked in, it was wide open, it was beautiful. In the center there was a massive, like seating area that was round with some greenery in the middle that was really tall, so you can't see unless you go around it. And then off to the side was the big area up against the wall that you would check in and check out at. And so we walk up to that little area there, and we put our duffel bags down. And one of our buddies, when he put his duffel bag down, he's like, "Well, I'm just going to lay here and wait till you guys get our room." And it was back around the other side, so we couldn't see him. So one of our guys goes up to the desk there and starts getting our room set up, gets our keys, and if I'm not mistaken, because it was just one night, they just one key per room for and we doubled up, so just one of the guys would get a key, and so we start going to our rooms and getting cleaned up. From there, we met back up and decided to go down. If I'm not mistaken, in Vegas, there's like tunnels that you can go to different casinos and hotels, down below. And so we did. We started walking through these tunnel areas, and we decided to stop and eat at a Dick's restaurant, one of those restaurants where they, put the hat on you and write some shit and make fun of you and everything. And then from there, we're still walking around. We hit a couple little casinos up just to say that we did. And then we come up to the main area outside. And then from there, to see all the sights and everything, we start walking back to our hotel. So as you're walking into the hotel, it's one of those hotels that has those escalator walking areas where you can just stand on it and it'll actually push you through. And so we're on that and we're riding to the front into the lobby. And as we're doing so, we see our buddy that eventually passed out over there on his duffel bag coming out of the hotel with his duffel bag and the police officer escorting him out. So we're looking at each other like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? What do you do? But one of our leaders jumped over to the other side and started walking back, their way to figure out what was going on. Eventually, what we found out was because he had normal, rough looking clothes on and a duffel bag, he literally had that look like he was just a homeless bum, crashed out in the middle of Luxor's floor there. And so when the police officer came to address him about it, he pretty much had no way of justifying why he was there because none of the rooms are in our name. None of the people that he's saying that he's with are around. He can't find them. None of us are on the list to show that we're in those rooms. And he was drunk on top of that. So put all that together, he literally looked like he should not have been there. And you have to think of the timeline of how this all went down when we got to where we checked in. He lays down and passes out then. We literally get our room, go to our room, get cleaned up, go for a walk, stop and ate, went further down, gambled a little bit, and then walked our way back, only for this to be happening at the exact same time that we're coming in, that he's coming out. So that easily could have went the wrong direction. Luckily, that worked out. We were able to get him, into his room and passed out. But man, I'm glad that some of these stories that I'm going to, tell again is, if anything, just a memory of so much stuff that I've forgotten that I will be able to tell. And if anything, just remind myself of everything I went through. And that was early on. That was either 2007 and 2008 when that happened. This next story, I'm going to go straight into our deployment. We go to Camp Shelby first. And if you think Fort Irwin is a shithole, which it is, I think Camp Shelby is a bigger shithole. It's not because of the area, because Fort Irwin is just in the middle of the desert and it fucking sucks. But that's the only thing I remember that sucked about it, was the fact that we were on a trash detail. Like I do know our sleeping setup was totally different, in those massive tents where we're all together. But I don't remember it being so bad that it stuck in my mind that it was that shitty. But the thing that really sucked about Camp Shelby is the drinks and the food. It Camp Shelby's food and drinks is fucking horrible. You try to just get a normal drink of water or even a normal using the carbonated drink machine there. It tastes like ocean water. So it was shitty. The food was horrible. Um, there is all those little shopettes there that, you can order pizzas and grab a little actual, outside food that's set up there on Camp Shelby. But because everybody wants to go there, the lines are, stupid long. You can order a pizza that will be delivered to you. And I remember one time we ordered it. It fucking destroyed me. It destroyed me from both directions, extremely bad. And so after that, I never got it. But going to Camp Shelby, I sit there and I thought, man, they give you this lifestyle to get you ready for Iraq because you're going to have a shitty lifestyle in Iraq. And just to compare Iraq and Camp Shelby, when we got to Iraq and our setup there, it's like you went from a trailer park, looking for food and ended up in a freaking, gated community with all the beautiful food you want. That was the difference between Camp Shelby and Iraq. Just on that alone, uh, was a big difference. So Camp Shelby was shit. The training was actually good. The setup, training sites were actually nice. Living conditions were kind of crappy. So we left Camp Shelby and flew into Kuwait first. Now, when we flew into Kuwait, I was so ready to see something way different than what I saw when we flew into Kuwait. So this was back in the beginning of 2010. And I didn't research anything about how Kuwait was going to be because we weren't going to be there that long. Focused more on Iraq. And when we flew into Kuwait, I remember it was in the middle of the night and it was just, the city was beautiful. And I remember this high rise that was there. And on one side of the building, it would show the temperature right then in Kuwait. And then when you flew around to the other side, it showed you what time it was. I thought, man, this is fucking cool, but this is not where we're actually going, is it? Because this is not what I expected it to be. But you learn real fast when you're flying in on how rich Kuwait is. And when you get to Kuwait, knowing that you're going somewhere else, you think you're just going to have a quick layover in Kuwait and then go to Iraq. We literally should have been there only for like a day, maybe two. And I just remember it just kept dragging on, finally going to Iraq. And when you fly into Iraq, you have combat landings. And the thing about a combat landing, they tell you that, grab your gear and put your head down. And you all of a sudden, you go from this nice rumbling sound of the engines to nothing. So they shut everything off. You don't even know you're landing until you just land. That's how it's set up. And that was an eerie, cool experience when that happened. But we landed in the middle of the night in Iraq. And you think Iraq is hot and yucky and miserable. And so when we landed, I was like, oh, it's going to be, because it's at least at night, it's going to be somewhat decent. It was fucking cold and raining when we landed. Then of course you land, you walk out of the back of the aircraft and all your luggage is scattered everywhere. And so you're running around trying to find your luggage. And then they tell you to hop on these little buses and they'll take you to your chew. So a handful of us got our luggage and got into the bus, and we had no fucking clue where we were going. We rode around that bus forever, felt like, just afraid to get off. You can't see anything because it's raining. And I think we rode that bus pretty much to the point where it wasn't raining so much anymore that we decided to get off the bus. Now, luckily for us, the stop that we were at, when we got off was our area. So we walked through these walls and found all the chews and found our people. So luckily, that was that was complete luck there that we decided to get off that bus at that point. Because these buses that we have in our fob are like, a transit system, in any city there. They just constantly keep going at all these different bus stops. And, and so luckily for us, we were able to, stop at the right place. So we get set up in our chew areas and we're getting set up, for our daily operations. Our mission there in Iraq was to, shut down Saddam's Air Force Base. How would you like to move your money, position your money, so you'll never have to worry about your financial future? What about creating tax shelters to actually protect your profits? Let me keep it simple. How would you like to just accelerate your cash flow? There's only one simple solution to that: Next Gen Legacy Group. Justin Melendez with the Next Gen Legacy Group is a 16-year Army veteran with years of experience applying strategy, movement, positioning to your everyday money habits. Justin is dedicated to transforming the way you structure and grow your wealth with alternative investment strategies. A financial architect, ensuring protection and growth without incurring additional cost. It empowers you with unparalleled control and flexibility over your money. What are you waiting for? Contact Justin today, 270-704-6244. That's 270-704-6244. Or email Justin, Justyn, at nextgenlegacygroup.co. Your money is losing money right now. Call today. And the mission that we had was we were the gun trucks support for all the civilians that were taking everything off the fob to another location. We had three platoons that went with us, and one of our platoons became the QRF team, and the other two platoons were the gun trucks. Now, the first and second platoon were all my actual people from my company, so I knew all of them. Third platoon was a whole nother group from another company that just came on, and so I spent a lot of time getting to know those guys and work with those guys because I didn't know them as much. So I wanted to get to know them. And anybody that knows me knows I like to talk with everybody, get to know everybody. And so that's what I did a lot with the third platoon. And I hit it off really good with a lot of those guys, and a handful of them are still great friends of mine today. So I was very thankful that I took the time to get to know these guys. And the way it was set up was that our gun truck missions would support civilians carrying all this gear, equipment out. And the mission would start in the middle of the night and leave early, that morning. Now, for me, I was the unit armor for my company. When you're stateside, you don't get to do so much. It's really a joke as an armor when you're stateside. You only deal with your weapons maybe twice a year that matter, and that's when you go to the range. Now there's, throughout the rest of the year, you are maintaining those weapons for, little side training here and there, making sure that maintenance is kept up on paperwork mainly. But when you're in Iraq and you're the armor, you get to do everything. And when I say everything, when I fell into my arms room, my setup was fucking awesome. I had a arms room on one side, a cleaning area on the other side. And so when I'm there, everybody would have their individual weapon with them. So I never maintained their individual weapons. I mostly maintained their gun truck weapons. And I had plenty of parts and tools to make sure that these weapons were up and going all the time. And so I took pride in doing that, making sure that these guys were good to go with these weapons. So so the way the mission would start is they'd go out and have midnight chow, and After midnight chow, they would come back. They would get all their trucks set up, start loading up their trucks, doing everything. And then later that morning, they would come see me and draw all their crew serve weapons, get them all mounted, get everything set up. And then at a certain time after that, they would do a test fire. I would go out there with them in my own truck. I'd usually have about four spare crew serve weapons with me, and then all my tools, and then a few parts that I, commonly needed if something was to go down. And I'd be out there with those guys. So if something happened, I'd get up there with them. And it only happened a handful of times where I had to get up there and work on one of their weapons. Um, I had one time where I had to switch one out because one was messing up, and I quickly switched it out and took it back with me and looked into it and found a problem, got it switched out, and got it ready to go for the next time. But I took pride on making sure those weapons were good to go for these guys. Um, and then so they'd be out there doing all that. They'd be gone for their mission. They usually gone, 2 or 3 days. And then when they would come back, I'd have their cleaning room area set up so that they can just bring in their weapons. I'd, usually get some food and snacks in there. I'd have a TV going, some music, everything. And then I'd visit with those guys while they were cleaning them. And, they all knew that if you just gave it a quick clean, um, I would take it from there. And normally it wouldn't be that way, especially stateside. But, in this scenario, these guys have been out this whole time. They do a quick clean, give them to me, because when I would take them back, I actually had a setup where I could mount the weapon and really break it down and go over it, um, and make sure everything was clean and good to go for the next mission. Um, and so that's how our setup was for these missions in Iraq. And when we were there, you want to compare how Camp Shelby in Iraq was QS for us at that time when it comes to like food. You walk into our chow hall in Iraq, and it's this massive room. So when you walk in, it's two separate doors on each side, and you walk straight ahead, and you had your main course for that time for food. There was a grill area or to get like hamburgers. There was a pizza area that you can get that. They had a hibachi grill that you can get everything that you want. You would take a bowl up there and scoop everything you want in it, give it to the hibachi grill guy. He'd cook everything up. He'd add the sauces that you want. You had a meal right there. In the middle area was a massive salad bar area. And then, of course, when you first walk in, down that whole wall was nothing but coolers for all the drinks that you could want. So they'd have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and midnight chow set up there. And so the food there for the majority of our deployment was amazing. So, you could see the difference between what we had at Camp Shelby and what we had in Iraq. You would think should have been switched, honestly. Now, at the end of our tour, when things got to start shutting down, and we lost our chow hall, we pretty much lived on Pop Tarts. The only option you had besides the Pop Tarts that we had, there was a few guys left from the Air Force. They had an area set up where they built this grill, and they had all these MREs left over, and they tried their best to cook up these MREs in a way that you weren't using your normal wet style of cooking than MRE. They would grill it and do all that. I think I hit that up maybe twice. After that, it was like, fuck it, I'll just live on Pop Tarts. But that was the only negative part about the end of Iraq was when we start shutting everything down. Our gym area was amazing, was massive. It was this big tent that you walked into. When you first walked in, to the right was a theater area, so you were able to go to the front desk and pick out a movie, take it to the theater, and you were able to have a whole bunch of y'all watch a movie. To the other side was a little area there where a little reading, um, had some books and some chairs there you can sit around and just read. But on the other side of that was a area that became very, very fierce. in our time frame there, and that was where the ping pong tables were. Now there was a good 5 or 6 of us that, we would we would all go together and, go play some ping pong, and this group that I'm talking about was from my 3rd platoon guys, and, we would go there, we'd had some fierce competition of ping pong. Yeah, some paddles got thrown, yeah, a lot of language was used, but, it was rough, but it was fucking fun playing with those guys some ping pong. You go through the main area in the middle to the back, when you first get back there, that's where the whole workout area was of the gym. And then you go to the right, and that would be an area there that had, all the basketball courts. These guys doing all these missions, they needed this. This is what they needed when they were back, uh, just to, feel normal for a little bit before they had to go back out into that, display of Iraq. So they had all these little areas that you can shop at, like little mini malls there. They had all the DVDs you could want and CDs. They were obviously the Haji version. I remember while we were in Iraq, there was shit that we would buy that was at theater at that time. You have to think this was in 2010. So back then, if it was in the theater, you never saw it anywhere else until it came out. Today, stuff that's out in the theater is instantly streaming already, but back then it wasn't. And so for us to be able to get those movies in the Haji version, to be able to watch movies that were at the theater at the same time while we were in Iraq, that was really unique. But you could buy anything over there. I remember I would go into this one area and get some body spray, and I bought a bottle or two of it, and it was like $1 a piece. And so at the end, when we started closing everything down, I was like, man, I'm going to go there and get a couple more just to have before they leave. And of course, I walk in and the guy's like, you can have all of it, $5, take it all. I was like, shit, okay. So it was literally probably, I don't know, 20, 30 cans of it that I took and ended up shipping back. So for the longest time, I used some Haji body spray. Your haircut was only $5. For me, I would always get it shaved, to nothing. So I'd go there and get a shave. And then of course, after they shave it, they put a little bit of that lemon water on their hands and rub it on your head and give you a little massage there. I think probably the only time consistently that I went somewhere and actually paid for someone to cut my own hair, especially since I just shave it. There was one salon there that eventually had to be shut down because it come to find out there was some illegal activity sexually being done. Had nothing to do with our guys. It literally happened as we were getting there. And the group that was there before us got in trouble with that. So I do remember that, was definitely a mission that I'll never forget. A lot of the stuff that we did, together on our downtime, we had some of the best times together. And then the missions, that these guys went out on. So the 3rd platoon allowed me to go on a mission with them one time. And so I got to see how all this went down. And for what these guys had to do every time they went out, it was no joke, you know. So the mission that we went out, you went out, you got to sit and go through an ops mission um, to see how things were going to go. And when you do, you see all the activity that's going on out there the whole time, and it's a little scary seeing it, before you roll out. And then of course, when you come back, you got to go through a mission brief to see how everything went. And the scary part about that mission brief after the fact is when you see how many times um, those devices that we had in our trucks that were jammers, how many times they would go off on jamming, a frequency to keep from an IED going off. So it was definitely nerve wracking when I went. I just went once. So for these guys to continuously keep doing it, I, tip my hat to them and anybody else that was over there doing those all the time. It's definitely a different different story when you live it as opposed to, seeing it and hearing it from someone else. So, but that was our mission to Iraq. Um, we got everything completed and got out of there fast. We left in January, February timeframe, and we were back in June. So hats off to my guys on their mission. Um, before we left, there was a lot of them that I thought, man, if we ever deployed, they're going to be complete fucking douchebags. But they really stepped it up while we were there. I think there was only two scenarios that I remember where being an armor that I had to get involved because you still had to keep a weapon on you when you go anywhere on that fob. And so for that, that means a couple of incidents where I had to take a firing pin out of a couple of our guys because they were starting to, mentally not do good. And but that was it. That was the only scenarios that we had. Nothing other than that happening was anything major from our deployment. So really proud of our guys on our deployment and everything that they were able to accomplish and do and get home safely. So that's Iraq and Camp Shelby in a nutshell. Thanks again for joining in on BP Podcast. Those are just, a story or two that I wanted to put out there, and there'll be many more.